So please welcome Francine Lemay, Madame Lemay, and her husband Daniel has kindly offered to be our official translator for us.
Je voudrais d'abord remercier Ed Yankee qui m'a invité à venir ce soir vous raconter mon témoignage, l'histoire de ma réconciliation avec les Noirs de Canada. On a rencontré Ed pour la première fois il y a 2 ans à Montréal et c'était lors d'une conférence organisée par l'Église presbytérienne. Et plus tard, l'été passé, on a rencontré Ed de nouveau par hasard et c'était lors d'une exposition des œuvres d'art d'Eden Galbraith. My husband is going to translate everything.
I'll try. So she'd like to thank Ed for inviting her to this event. And we met Ed 2 years ago at the Presbyterian Church, right?
It's a conference.
Conference, yeah, organized by the Presbyterian Church.
You were there?
Yeah. And we saw Ed again this summer in Ganawagi, where Ellen Gabriel was showing some of her artwork.
For your information, because we did the same presentation yesterday at the Société historique de Beaconsfield. Some people didn't know the Kanasitake, they didn't differentiate Kanasitake from Ganawagi. So we met in Ganawagi. Ganawagi is a reservation on the south shore. Oh, en français.
Go ahead.
Et Kanasitake est au nord-ouest, près de Oka, au nord-ouest de Montréal. Kanasitake n'est pas une réserve, c'est un territoire, et puis Ganawagi est une réserve. C'est juste pour faire une distinction, parce que hier, lors d'une présentation, il y en a qui ne connaissaient pas la
So to clarify, because yesterday we were at the Historical Society of Beaconsfield and had a small conference, and some people were confusing Ganawagi with Ganastage. Ganawagi is a reserve on the south shore of Montreal, Châteauguay, and Ganastage is Oka, if you want to say, on the northwest of Montreal.
Pour le bénéfice de ceux qui n'étaient pas encore nés, qui étaient trop jeunes pour s'en souvenir, j'aimerais d'abord faire un court rappel de l'objet de la crise d'Oka qui a eu lieu en 1990 et qui a duré 70 ans.
Now, I would like to make a small brush a picture of what happened in 1990. In 1990 what happened is a crisis of 78 days that affected Canada and Quebec.
La municipalité d'Oka voulait agrandir le terrain de golf de 9 à 18 trous et procéder à la construction de 300 condos dans la Pilène. Un terrain où le peuple mohawk se rassemble pour toutes sortes d'activités, pique-niques, jeux de la crosse, cérémonies de prière, également où est situé leur cimetière.
The first. Okay. No, sorry dear. I fake it. Yeah. So in 1990, the municipality of Oka wanted to extend its 9 golf course to an 18-hole golf course, and also build some luxury condos in the Pines. And the Pines is where the Mohawk of Ganastage meet for different events, picnics, family things like Karas, and also they have their cemetery there. Next one, the second. No, the second from the beginning. Nope. Nope, number 1, go back up. Okay, that's the one. That's the cemetery, the Pines, and that's the small road that was blocked during the first few months before the real big crisis started. So they weren't across the big road, the main road, which is small.
Voici donc mon histoire. À l'été 90, j'ignorais tout de ce qui se passait à Ottawa. J'écoutais peu les nouvelles et j'étais occupée à la maison avec mes 2 jeunes enfants et mes études en traduction à l'Université de Montréal. Mes connaissances sur les Indiens étaient limitées à ce que j'avais appris à l'école. Elles se résumaient à ceci. Les Iroquois étaient des méchants parce qu'ils étaient associés aux Anglais. Et les Hurons étaient les bons parce qu'ils étaient associés aux Français. On nous a aussi appris que les Iroquois étaient responsables des massacres de la Chine, du martyre de plusieurs jésuites, mais pas un mot sur les villages iroquois que les Français avaient incendiés. Les mots autochtones et Premières Nations ne m'étaient pas familiers, comme pour la plupart des Québécois.
So in 1990, when this happened, the only thing I knew about Indians was what I read in the history book. You want to put the history book in those days? That's the one, Scots Canada, which was very limited. And the only thing she knew was that the bad Indians were the Iroquois because they were allied to the English, and the good Indians were the Hurons because they were allied to the French. And in the English books, it's the opposite. So, and the word Native First Nations was unknown to me, as to most Quebecers in those days.
Tout ce que je savais était que le 11 juillet, mon frère Marcel, âgé de 31 ans, venait d'être tué à Oka dans un échange de 90 coups de feu tirés en 20 secondes. Marcel faisait partie des 30 membres du groupe d'intervention de la Sûreté du Québec. Lui et sa femme attendaient leur 2e enfant. J'ai donc 2 nièces de 22 et 24 ans qui n'ont jamais connu leur père.
Sorry. Marcel was 31 years old when he died in the crisis in Oka. He was part of the SWAT team of the SQ, which is a 30-member group, special tactics. And when he died, that's when the shots happened. In 20 seconds, 90 shots happened, so it's a lot. And Francine has 2 nieces that never knew their father.
Après avoir reçu la nouvelle au téléphone par un membre de ma famille, bien sûr, ça a été le choc, la douleur, l'incompréhension. Mais parce que j'étais chrétienne et que je savais que je devais pardonner, c'est ce que j'ai fait. Mais c'était un pardon superficiel.
So when she received the call about her brother's death, she was really shocked, appalled, couldn't understand it. And as a Christian then, she said, I have to forgive. But her forgiveness was not from the heart, it was superficial.
La nuit, je faisais de terribles cauchemars. Des saccages de maisons, des blancs qui étaient torturés comme dans un gros moulin à viande géant. J'étouffais les sentiments d'amertume, de révolte, mais en même temps, j'avais un désir sincère de rencontrer un jour des Mohawks qui seraient sympathiques à la mort de Marcel.
So for a long time, Francine had a lot of nightmares concerning natives, torturing, killing whites, putting them in the meat grinder and all that stuff. And but deep down, she also had a desire to meet a native that was had some compassion to what happened to her brother.
L'enquête du coroner a duré 5 ans. Aucun coupable n'a été trouvé. Et le coroner a fait des recommandations au gouvernement et à la Sûreté du Québec. Et chaque fois qu'on montrait la photo de mon frère à la télé, la plaie s'ouvrait.
So the coroner's investigation inquest lasted 5 years, and nobody was brought to justice, just recommendations to the government and Sûreté du Québec. Yeah, and every time the media would show the picture of Marcel, the wound would reopen.
Maintenant, voici comment a commencé mon voyage de réconciliation avec les Mohawks. En mai 2004, soit 14 ans après la mort de mon frère, 2 étudiants de la radio universitaire de McGill me téléphonent pour me demander une entrevue. J'étais surprise parce que je croyais la page tourner. Je leur demande donc 3 jours pour réfléchir et entre-temps, je m'empresse d'appeler Céline, une amie qui prenait alors des cours de Mohawk. Je voulais lui poser quelques questions.
So, 14 years later, students from the McGill radio station called Francine and asked her if they can interview her on the subject, the Oka crisis. She was really taken aback because it was 14 years later and she had thought the matter behind her. She asked the students 3 days to think about it and immediately calls a friend, Celine, who was taking Mohawk courses.
Elle me prête, à la fin de notre entretien, elle me prête un livre écrit par 2 femmes Mohawk. Le livre s'intitule At the Woods Edge. Ce livre brosse un portrait de leur spiritualité, de leur gouvernement, de leur coutume, de leur lutte depuis l'arrivée des Européens. Il est très bien documenté. Avec une chercheuse professionnelle, les auteurs ont fouillé pendant 4 ans dans les archives, des microfiches, dans divers musées et bibliothèques. J'ai dévoré le livre en quelques jours.
So after the phone call, well, during the phone call, Celine suggests Francine to read the book At the Woods Edge, which was a book written by 2 Mohawk women from Ganastagi. And it took 4 years of research with a professional researcher to find all the documents pertaining to that, to have support on what they've written. And she was so intrigued, she read the book in a few days.
J'étais très touchée, bouleversée par tout ce que je venais d'apprendre. Les abus, les injustices, les empiètements de territoire, les déplacements forcés, les emprisonnements pour simplement avoir coupé du bois pour se chauffer, l'assimilation forcée, les pensionnats, l'inertie du gouvernement, ses promesses brisées, son attitude paternaliste, les tours de passe-passe du clergé, et j'en passe.
Well, that's a lot. So she was surprised at all the injustices, prejudice, lack of compassion, all the lies and everything that happened, and wrongful imprisonment of natives for cutting wood, yeah, just to heat their houses and stuff.
Le dimanche suivant, dans l'église évangélique que je fréquentais à Dollard-des-Ormeaux, 6 Mohawks, dont Mélis Étienne et Harvey Gabriel, étaient invités par Céline à présenter leur projet de traduction de la Bible en Mohawk.
So, a week later, at the church Francine was attending, 6 Mohawk people appeared to explain and discuss their project of translating the Bible into the Mohawk language.
Pendant toute la présentation qui a duré 1 heure, j'ai des tremblements incontrôlables.
So all the time she's shaking uncontrollably while they are speaking in front.
À la fin, je me sens poussée à demander la permission de prendre la parole et calmement, je remercie les invités pour leur présentation, puis je leur demande pardon pour les injustices que le peuple a subies dans le passé et qui a laissé des traces indélébiles jusqu'à aujourd'hui.
So all of a sudden she stops shaking and has this urge to go up and talk and asks the permission to go up and talk, and she says that she starts saying that she wants to ask forgiveness to the Mohawk people for all the injustices that have happened to them.
Enfin, après une courte pause, je m'identifie comme étant la sœur du caporal Marcel Lemay qui a été tué durant la crise. Je me souviens que l'assistance était très émue. Tout le monde pleurait dans la salle. Très peu de personnes savaient que c'était mon frère qui avait été tué à Ottawa.
So then there's a pause, and Francine identifies herself as the sister of Corporal Marcel Lemay. And all of a sudden everybody's shocked, and even people start crying.
Alors Mélis, responsable du projet de traduction de la Bible en Mohawk, remonte sur l'estrade et demande aussi pardon pour son propre racisme, ses préjugés et également ses condamnations.
So, Mavis Etienne, who was a leader in the Bible translation into Mohawk, asked to speak, and she also asked forgiveness to Francine for all her own prejudice that she had through the years.
Avant de partir, elle m'invite pour le samedi suivant à un événement appelé Trail of Prayers. Il s'agissait d'un parcours sur le territoire de Kanassetake où on s'arrêtait à 4 endroits stratégiques pour chanter et prier pour la guérison de la communauté. Et tout se faisait dans les 3 langues, en Mohawk, en anglais et en français.
So then Mavis invites Francine to go to Benestagi the next week for an event called the Trail of Prayers, where a group of people would sing, pray in 4 strategic places on the territory for the healing of the community. And everything was done in Mohawk, English and French.
Au 4e endroit, soit dans la Pilette, où ont été tirés les 90 coups de feu, je suis prise d'un malaise, j'ai la nausée, je suis accroupie par terre.
So on the 4th strategic place, it was in the Pines where Marcel was killed. And I feel weak, nauseous, and fall to the ground. Mavis asked to
Qui avait organisé l'événement m'offre de retourner chez moi et je dis non, je veux aller jusqu'au bout. Alors, plus tard, quelques personnes m'entourent et prient pour moi et tout de suite, je me sens mieux.
So Mavis leans over and asks if Francine wants to go back home, and Francine said, no, I have to go all the way through. And then they make a friendship circle and start praying over her, and she feels immediately much better.
Les participants ont formé un cercle d'amitié, où plusieurs personnes m'ont offert leurs condoléances, dont un des frères du fameux Lasagne. Je vivais finalement le deuil de mon frère et un processus de guérison et de réconciliation était en cours.
So as she felt better, other people started giving her condolences, among Tracy, the brother of the famous lasagna. And finally she was getting free and starting a healing process.
4 mois plus tard, Mavis m'invite à aller à Ottawa.
4 months later, Mavis invites us, but separately,
We didn't know each other, okay?
to go to Ottawa.
Pour assister à une présentation d'un organisme qui s'appelle My People International. Anybody know My People International?
So Mavis invites us to go to an event in this area, in the Ottawa area, called organized by My People International. It's a fundraising evening that was there.
C'est là que j'ai rencontré mon futur époux.
And that's where she met me, and I met her.
Il m'a offert un verre d'eau.
When I offered her water.
Depuis ce temps-là, on voit plus.
And since then, water is our source. That's beautiful water.
4 ans plus tard, je fais la lecture d'un autre livre très intéressant écrit par Donald Gérard et qui s'intitule Fenêtre d'espoir et de réconciliation. Il a été traduit en anglais.
So 4 years later, I read the book Window of Hope and Reconciliation. Okay, written by Donald Gingras, Québécois, and it is his story of reconciliation with the Anglophone community.
Oui, very interesting.
Very interesting.
C'est son expérience de réconciliation avec les anglophones. L'idée me vient alors de traduire At the Wood's Edge pour informer les francophones, pour dissiper les préjugés, bâtir des ponts avec les autochtones.
That's the book that gave me the idea of translating At the Wood's Edge in order to have French-speaking people know, have the information available to French-speaking people of what happened in Benestag, really, the history and all the misunderstandings.
The intention was to break the prejudice.
Yeah, to break the prejudice, inform the francophones.
Build bridges.
Build bridges.
Maintenant que j'avais vécu mon propre voyage de réconciliation, je désirais que d'autres entreprennent le même voyage.
Now that I've started my journey to reconciliation, I wanted others to also have the possibility to journey in that area.
Je commande donc le livre et propose ensuite au Centre culturel de Kanesatake de le traduire. On me répond qu'ils n'ont pas les fonds pour payer le coût de la traduction et de l'impression, mais j'avais déjà prévu de le traduire bénévolement comme une contribution pour leur perte en dépit de la mienne. Je souhaitais aussi que le lancement du livre coïncide avec le 20e anniversaire de la crise, soit le 11 juillet 2010.
So I ordered the book at the Woods Edge from the Cultural Center in Kanesatake and show my interest in translating the book, but I'm told that they have no money for translation of the book nor for printing. But it was already then I said I want to do it for free. And I wanted the launching of the French copy to coincide with the 20th anniversary of the Oka crisis.
There were many events.
Because many events were already starting to be planned.
En mars 2009, je rencontre un groupe de Mohawks à Kanesatake, dont l'une des deux auteurs. Il y avait aussi Hélène Gabriel. Il y avait des chefs du conseil de vente, puis la responsable du centre culturel. Puis, au début, je ressentais une atmosphère de méfiance. La tension était palpable. Peut-être se demandait-il pourquoi la sœur du policier qui a été tué lors de la crise voudrait-elle traduire l'histoire de notre peuple. Alors j'explique mes intentions et puis tranquillement l'atmosphère se détend et on donne le feu vert.
So with that, we're asked to go to meet with band council members. One of the authors was there, Arlette, and Ellen Gabriel was there, and the head of the cultural center, Hilda, to explain what her intentions was. So at first it was really tense, because why would the sister of Corporal Lemay, who was shot, be interested in translating our history? And I explained my intentions, and everything smoothed out, and they gave her the go-ahead.
Au début de la traduction, j'étais très motivée et enthousiaste, même si le travail était épuisant à cause de mes autres contrats. J'avais des douleurs physiques extrêmes, des crises de fibromyalgie presque chaque nuit. Après quelques mois de travail, j'ai commencé à éprouver beaucoup de doutes, de la fatigue et du découragement.
So at first I was so enthusiastic, I really plunged into the work of translating the book, besides my own translation, regular translation contracts. But soon the work was a lot, and I had fibromyalgia and pain almost every day, every night, and I was getting discouraged.
J'avais fait une demande de subvention au gouvernement fédéral.
I had also asked the federal government for a grant to pay for the printing of the book, and they said no. Nice.
Le centre en a fait une auprès du gouvernement provincial.
The cultural center asked for a grant at the provincial level, and also no.
Même refus poli. Mais j'avais donné ma parole. J'étais consciente des nombreuses promesses qu'on leur avait faites et qui avaient été brisées.
But I was conscious of my word and the promises that had been broken through all the history, and I said, no, I'll finish that.
Enfin, en janvier 2010, une bonne nouvelle arrive.
Finally, in January 2010, good news.
Une gérante de projet qui travaille au centre de santé à Kanesatake a demandé une subvention à l'agence qui l'avait embauchée et sa demande est acceptée.
There was a project manager involved that was hired to help out the community and health center, and she comes to hear about that project and asks those who hired her if that could, well, they gave her the grant. So that was the good news.
Grand soulagement pour tout le monde Le centre pouvait enfin payer pour un réviseur diplômé et pour l'impression des livres.
So, although the translation was free, they had the money now to pay for a professional revisor and printing of the books.
Alors, 1000 exemplaires du livre à l'orée des bois sont arrivés au centre culturel juste à temps pour le lancement du livre, pour le lancement qui a eu lieu le 11 juillet 2010.
So, the books arrived just in time for the launching on the 11th of July for the 20th anniversary of the Oka Cross.
Alors, le livre sur le peuple noir de Canada est en vente ici ce soir. On ne peut pas le trouver dans les librairies.
The book in French.
On ne peut pas le trouver dans les
It's normal for women to repeat to their husband frequently.
Le livre sur le peuple noir de Canada est en vente ici. Il ne se trouve pas dans les librairies.
Yeah. The book, unfortunately, cannot be found in bookstores, but we have some copies for sale. And also, if you don't want to have it tonight and order it, you can order it from the Cultural Center at Hilton. All the funds, so all the proceeds of the book do not go to the authors nor Francine, but they go to the immersion school in Ganastag for the kids. I get a scratch on that.
Bon, là, c'est sérieux. Je ne peux pas passer sous silence le fait que c'est ma foi en Dieu et en sa parole qui a joué un rôle majeur dans mon voyage de réconciliation.
So I must say that it's my faith in God that really helped me go through this journey of reconciliation.
Le pardon et la réconciliation sont des sujets universels. Mais c'est Jésus qui en est l'exemple parfait.
So, forgiveness and reconciliation are universal subjects, but the perfect example is Jesus.
Je sais que Dieu peut transformer des tragédies en victoires, faire dépouler de bonnes choses des mauvaises.
So I know that God can transform losses, pain, tragedies into victories.
Après avoir lu ou entendu mon histoire, plusieurs m'ont dit qu'elle était merveilleuse.
So many people have told me afterwards that my story was extraordinary.
Je leur réponds que c'est plutôt l'auteur de l'histoire qui est merveilleuse. Je crois que chaque histoire peut être tout aussi merveilleuse si on laisse le Créateur en écrire le script.
So I answered that anybody's story can be extraordinary if you let the Creator write the script.
La méconnaissance nous fait souvent porter des jugements ou généraliser tout un groupe d'individus.
Not knowing, lack of information, ignorance is what brings up,
Porter des jugements,
make us
généraliser tout un groupe d'individus.
make judgments on people, groups, individuals, etc.
Avec des préjugés.
So we're not born with prejudice.
Nous sommes transmis par la famille, par l'école, les médias, le cinéma.
So they're transmitted by family, school, media, cinema, Hollywood.
Les mythes se construisent peu à peu.
So these myths are built slowly
Ils se transmettent,
and are transmitted,
sont perpétués,
perpetuated,
ils s'ancrent dans la psyché sociale historique.
and become really entrenched in the collective consciousness.
Ils se transforment en barricades qui
And
séparent les peuples, les nations et même les voisins.
And become barricades that separate people, nations, even neighbors.
Les préjugés deviennent extrêmement difficiles à démanteler.
So these barricades of prejudice become very difficult to break down.
Une suite d'événements que j'appelle des rendez-vous divins et non des coïncidences heureuses m'ont amené sur le chemin de la guérison intérieure et de la réconciliation avec les Noirs de Canada.
A series of events has brought me to that I call divine appointments, not coincidences, have brought me to this journey of reconciliation with the people of the Kanestage.
Même si la mort de mon frère est inacceptable,
Even if my brother's death is unacceptable, inexcusable,
injustifiable,
cannot be justified,
irremplaçable,
and he cannot be replaced,
elle n'aura pas été vaine.
it would not have been in vain.
C'est ma ferme conviction qu'au lieu d'ériger des murs d'indifférence ou de mépris, nous pouvons tous bâtir des ponts dans notre famille, dans notre église, dans notre milieu de travail et entre toutes les nations.
So it's my firm conviction that instead of building walls that separate us,
Murs d'indifférence.
walls of indifference, of hatred, we can all build bridges. Isn't that a nice bridge? In our families, our church, and our area of work, our workplace, and between all nations.
Nous pouvons tous être des agents de la justice,
We can all be agents of justice,
des ministres,
ministers of reconciliation,
des ambassadeurs de la bonne volonté,
ambassadors of goodwill,
des artisans de la paix.
and peacemakers.
Moi, je suis convaincue qu'il faut commencer par le commencement, par l'information. Avant de pouvoir pardonner, avant de pouvoir se réconcilier, il faut être informé.
Yeah, before anything, we need to understand, to get information, to really go and learn, to start the process.
C'est pour ça que je crois tellement qu'il faut commencer avec les jeunes à l'école.
That's why I firmly believe we have to start with the young in school.
J'ai remarqué que quand on parle aux jeunes, ils n'ont pas les mêmes préjugés que nous, les vieux boucs.
Yeah, I noticed that when I speak with young people, they don't have the same prejudice as us, the old folks.
Moi, j'ai beaucoup d'espoir.
So I have hope.
Puis je sais que vous êtes ici pour la même raison. Puis je suis contente. Je vais rester ici pour toute la journée demain parce que j'ai hâte de participer, d'assister à toute la conférence, puis d'entendre les autres conférenciers et les autres ateliers.
So I'm happy to be here, and I know that you're here too for this learning process, and I'll be here tomorrow, and I'm really thrilled, and I can't wait to listen to everybody and talk to everybody.
Une dernière chose, on a rencontré Ed Bianchi il y a 2 ans lors de la conférence, puis il donnait un atelier.
Yeah, we met Ed 2 years ago when he was giving a workshop,
Puis on aimait beaucoup, tous les deux, on a participé à l'atelier, puis on a beaucoup aimé ça.
and we liked that workshop where
Puis j'ai demandé à Ed, est-ce que ça existe, cette présentation que tu viens de faire là, avec le tapis? Est-ce que ça existe en français? Il m'a dit que non.
no, and that workshop where all the carpets there and
The blanket exercise.
yeah, well, we like that, and she asked Ed if it was in French, and no, it's
No,
not.
he said, maybe it's been translated now. I don't know.
So maybe it's been
After
translated.
2 years, but I wish there would be presentation like that in Quebec in the schools.
Yeah, I wish.
Easy on the
Right. Yes,
Vous avez des questions sur le cheminement?
any questions?
Est-ce que vous étiez pour préparer à poser des questions?
No questions? Come on, somebody's got a question.
I haven't looked at the French copy yet, but do you have your story written as an introduction or anything like that? Do you plan on?
Just on the back cover, it explains in 2 paragraphs why I did the translation, but it's written in French. But I can go on. I translated the book.
Well,
But
I know why.
I can, my testimony, I wrote it for the magazine In Touch Ministry. I worked as a translator for Charleston Week for the last 11 years ago, since the beginning. And the testimony was published in French in the magazine. It's called En Contact. I have copies here. But I can send you the translation in English. You have my, on the French copy, you have my email. It was not published, that's why I wrote it.
It should.
Go ahead.
You made quite a bit of the fact that you had physical responses at a number of times in that story.
Because I was spending too many hours at the computer. I was working day and sometimes night and weekend. And if you sit, we all know if you sit too long in the same position, and I was not smart enough to take breaks. So I was just...
Francine, I can tell you that I had to call her from work and tell her, did you take a glass of water today? She doesn't stop. By the way, this is...
Sorry, but I was going to ask if you also interpreted those physical responses, including walking around the floor, as also part of the Spirit speaking to you. Is it part of the reconciliation and the understanding?
Are you talking about the four...
When you were in the pines?
Yeah, when you were in the pines?
No, I wasn't sick. I was just thrown up because I knew it was there that my brother had been killed, but he had nothing to do with the Corporal just increased because I was working too many hours. But it was a job, 1 year job.
Louise?
Yes?
Deuil?
Morning.
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 That when she felt sick there, that's when the true emotions came out, I guess, and the mourning of her brother started, and healing, getting free of it.
You know, the first time I was invited to the Iroquois church in Ganastaki, I was afraid. Because of all those things that I read in my history book when I was young. There's still people that are afraid to go on a reserve. They think that, and the first time I went there, people like me. With the same desire, the same needs, the same pain,
That's it. People are people.
But, you know, it's so much ingrained, ingrained in your mind that there's there and but it's us. I found out. And I made a lot of friends. I built trust. By building bridges, I built trust. When I go to the power every year, I have friends there and they know they trust me. And that's why I didn't want to charge for the translation.
By the way, this picture is, as you know, and Mavis Etienne, the lead person for the translation of the Bible into Mohawk, and responsible for having us meet. And Mavis told me 2 words of wisdom. Danielle, if you want your marriage to go well, just remember 2 words. Yes, dear.
Yes, dear.
You walk closely in the line of prejudice, but you probably also witnessed hatred, and you felt hatred at times. Now that you look back and reflect on all this, how would you define or what would you differentiate between hatred and prejudice?
Prejudice builds up and becomes hate. we hate and we don't know why. I remember I was maybe 19, 20 years old. I was working for Air Canada as a stewardess. And I come from a very French, 100% French small town, southwest of Montreal. And I heard English the first time at 18 when I moved to Montreal. Took courses. I made myself a duty to go out just with English boys. So I can so I learned fast.
Then she saw the light.
But I was working with those girls from Toronto, and we were passing at that time. We were doing things really in the place. They don't do that anymore. But we were passing the papers, and there was a part of La Presse and Journal de Montréal, and this girl from Toronto, she said, she kept the part, and she said, I'm not going to pass those first papers. Well, I didn't know I was a fraud. I just, but why do you think she had prejudice against French Canadian? Well, it comes from the same thing that I had against Indian. In the media, I lived in Calgary for a while, and when I read the paper, it was in 1994 during the referendum, and I couldn't believe what I was reading in the paper. You know, Quebec was described like
Fanatics, terrorists.
so it builds the mind of the readers, and those readers, they teach that to their kids. You know, what you hear on TV goes in your mind, and you think it's true. A lot of things that you take for granted that's on TV.
As much as media can be a very good tool, public service and everything, also depending on how the story is presented. Like one journalist said that media, unfortunately, is like a fleet. It jumps from one point to another and does not give sometimes not the whole perspective. For example, when the launch of the À l'orée des bois, the French version of the book happened, there was a march commemorating the 20 years of the Oka crisis and in Ganastagi, and
Canada was there, the French.
all the media's covered that. You saw that on TV, walking, the natives walking, and then the police on the side. So they were just interested in seeing if any trouble would happen, possible trouble or anything. But it's what's happening. Okay, but
further up, there was the speakers from the chef. The cultural center invited over 100 media, paper, radio, television, and how do you think, how many do you think, how many French media do you think came and responded
to the launch of the French book version?
Wait. One, you're generous. Zero. And there were some Anglo media, like Presbyterian, and the paper from Hudson.
Yeah, Hudson Gazette.
There were a few, but the French media was not interested in the launching of the book because the book is the march of the book. Ça répond?
Yeah. Okay. What I can tell you is it's interesting to listen to media in different languages because you see the variations. Just before the launch of the French book, we had a meeting with friends a few months before, and we discussed the Oka crisis and all that, and there was one person who said, I was really surprised because when I watched the English media and the French media, it's like two different points of view completely, two different ways of saying things.
Je ajouter aussi que, suite après que je passais Le même jour qu'il y avait le lancement du livre à Kanastake, il y avait un power à Kanawari, le même jour. Et puis, c'était la première fois qu'un député de Châteauguay est venu, parce qu'il a été invité spécialement pour le 20e anniversaire. Puis, la députée a répété exactement les mêmes mots que j'avais dit à la télévision le jour précédent. Elle parlait de temps d'année, elle parlait de réconciliation, elle parlait de construire des ponts. Elle a utilisé les mêmes mots que moi, parce que c'est ça qui était la tendance à cause du lancement. Alors, je crois vraiment que le lancement du livre a, dans un sens, étouffé un genre de racisme qui était latent.
Well, we noticed that what happened is that in the media started slowly talking about the Oka crisis, 20th anniversary, and there was no real tendency on which way it would go. Some would go like, let's take our revenge against the native. Those would say, no, let's open up and discuss. Or it was really sort of
because there's still barricades in the house on both sides.
With Francine being interviewed a few times, and the day before she had spoken also, one of the federal ministers was invited to the Ganawagi powwow on the same day, 11th of July, as the launching of the book, and she mentioned opening up, building bridges, extend the hand of friendship and all that. And she was surprised that she heard that from a PM.
I heard her, PM, ça s'appelle? I heard.
Minister of Parliament. Minister of Parliament.
Wait, I heard her say exactly the same words that I had said in the previous.
So I said every word counts, every word can have an effect.
It was useful.
So keep on doing what you do. Good work.